Today's topic is cargo securement. Proper cargo securement is important. It helps prevent accidents, injuries, damage to the products being hauled, and unnecessary downtime. Load securement is also something that is required under the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. When cargo isn't secured properly, a hazardous situation is created. Unsecured cargo can shift, slide, tilt, and fall. These conditions can cause a driver to lose control of the vehicle and create road hazards for other motorists. Bottom line, cargo securement is important because the customer is paying for safe, damage-free, and timely delivery of goods. Damaged goods result in claims against the company, hurts the carrier's reputation, and negatively impacts profitability. And if not properly secured, an accident could result from falling and shifting cargo. Some obvious things to remember. The vehicle's cargo or any other object must not obscure the driver's view ahead or to the right or left sides, interfere with the free movement of the driver's arms or legs, prevent the driver free and ready access to accessories required for emergencies, or prevent the free and ready exit of any person from the vehicle's cab or driver's compartment. Additionally, as discussed in your orientation training, you must check vehicle's cargo and load securing devices within the first 50 miles of a trip. After the initial inspection, you need to re-examine the security of the vehicle's load after driving for 3 hours or 150 miles, whichever comes first, and when the driver makes a change of duty status. So, how do we secure our cargo? We have to keep in mind both length and weight. So I am going to give you some examples on how to determine how many straps, tie downs, or chains you will need for your particular article. If you have a load not blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure, and the article is 5 feet or shorter and doesn't weigh more than 1,102 pounds, then you just need one tie down. If you have a load that is not blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure, the article is 5 feet or shorter and weighs more than 1,102 pounds, you need two tie downs. If you have a load that is not blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure, and the article is not longer than 10 feet, regardless of its weight, it will need two tie downs. If you have a load that is not blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure, the article is longer than 10 feet, regardless of weight, it will need two tie downs within the first 10 feet and an additional tie down for each additional 10 feet. Articles that are blocked or immobilized. So if you have an article of cargo that is blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure which prevents it from moving forward, you will need one tie down if the cargo is not longer than 10 feet. If you have an article of cargo that is blocked or immobilized by a header board, bulkhead, or some front end structure which prevents it from moving forward and the article is longer than 10 feet, you will need one tie down within the first 10 feet and one subsequent tie down for each additional 10-foot increment. Again, we must also consider weight. So in addition to just the size and length requirements for determining tie downs, we also have to consider weight and our method of cargo securement. I am going to be talking about both indirect and direct cargo securement. First, we will give an example of indirect cargo securement. So, for example, if you have an article weighing 20,000 pounds, it would require a minimum of 10,000 pounds of working load limit securement because we always have to have enough tie downs to secure for half the weight of the article of cargo. If you use the indirect method, which essentially is over the cargo anchor point to anchor point, you could use, for example, two 5,400 pound rated straps because 2 times 5,400 gives you 10,800 pounds of working load limit, which is over half of the weight of the cargo. Or you could use three 4,700 pound rated chains because 3 times 4,700 is 14,100, which again is over half of the poundage of the article that you would be required to account for. In this case, if you were to use two 4,700 pound chains, you would only have 9,400 pounds of working load limit, and therefore you would be in violation because you need to secure for 10,000 pounds, since your article was 20,000 pounds. If the article is more than 10 feet in length, even if it were just 10 foot 1 inch, it would require an additional strap to satisfy the length requirements as we previously talked about. Therefore, you have to remember that you are not only having to deal with the length and weight requirements, but also working load limit requirements. If the article of cargo were a machine with built-in attachment points and the driver used the direct chain method, which is essentially where you take a chain from a trailer anchor point to a cargo attachment point and back, then 5 attachments would be needed for a 20,000 pound article, or 4 direct and 1 indirect. So here's an example. When using the direct method, each tie-down device only gets half its rated working load limit. So if there is a device that's rated for 4,700 pounds each, they are only allowed a 2,350 pound allowance of working load limit. So in this case, to suffice the requirement of having enough tie downs for half of the weight of the article, you would have to use 5 tie downs. If you used, for example, 4 tie downs that were rated at 4,700 pounds, you would only have a working load limit of 9,400 pounds because remember, those chains are only given half of their pound limit when you use the direct method. Let's quickly discuss your stopping procedures, which is something that we don't always think about. Make sure you are aware of the areas that you are traveling through. Always plan out your runs to include scheduled stops, breaks, and fueling. You should know where you are going and where you are going to stop. All drivers should avoid making unauthorized and unnecessary stops. This increases a driver's chances of being a victim of theft. If you travel a regular or semi-regular route, you should never get into the pattern of stopping at the same place at the same time. When making a stop, you should always choose a truck stop or rest area where there are other trucks. There is safety in numbers. When possible, park in a well-lit area, avoiding dark and deserted places. Empty parking lots and other secluded areas should be avoided. Conversations with strangers should be also avoided. What may start as a friendly conversation could lead to a driver being robbed. Let's discuss how you should handle the theft of a vehicle or cargo. What you do immediately after you discover a theft can make a difference as to whether the property is recovered. First, immediately call the local police. When dealing with the police, give them as many details as possible. Provide to the police the license number on the equipment serial number, a description of the vehicle, be as detailed as possible, and a description of the cargo. Additionally, include the time when the incident occurred, as close as you can, and a description of any suspicious people that you may have noticed near the vehicle. The more details you can give the police, the better chance there is of recovering the vehicle or cargo. Next, you need to notify your company. Your company will also need to know about the theft and for insurance and recording purposes. The company may also have specific directions for you to follow.